Over the past 5 years, Nvidia has held an almost dominant position in China's chip market. During that time, as the wave of AI chips began to rise, this American company nearly monopolized the high-end computing power market with its leading GPU technology. Whether it was internet giants or startups, whenever it came to AI training and inference, Nvidia's name was almost unavoidable. At its peak, the company's market share in China reached nearly 95%. But now, as the US government continues to tighten export restrictions on China, Nvidia's business in the country has been gradually squeezed. By October of this year, Nvidia CEO announced that due to US export controls, the company's AI chips would have to completely withdraw from the Chinese market. Its market share fell from 95% to 0%, and this entire process took less than half a year. In today's video, we'll take a closer look at what led to Nvidia's complete loss of the Chinese market. And without access to US-made AI chips, what actions will China take next? If you like our video content, please click to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can receive all our latest video content. Now, let's get into today's topic. In our daily lives today, we can see more and more self-driving cars on the streets, robotic arms operating autonomously in factories without human control, and various AI tools dramatically improving our work efficiency. Behind all of this is a small but powerful AI chip. According to data, global shipments of AI chips in 2024 reached about 1.8 billion units, with a market size of nearly $130 billion. And Nvidia alone captured over $98 billion of that market. Of course, Nvidia's rapid rise in recent years can largely be attributed to its accurate foresight into the direction of AI development. The explosive growth of large AI models, autonomous driving, and cloud computing directly fueled the massive demand for high-performance GPUs. By October 2024, Nvidia's market capitalization had skyrocketed to $3.15 trillion, surpassing Apple to become the world's most valuable company. Among its products, the most sought-after AI chip was the H100. In 2024 alone, shipments of the H100 exceeded 1.6 million units, generating over $45 billion in revenue. Soon after, Nvidia launched the upgraded H200 AI chip, which entered mass production the same year. This new chip quickly became the go-to GPU for AI training across the globe. Naturally, Nvidia's success was also deeply tied to China, one of the world's largest and most dynamic markets. As we all know, China, with its 1.4 billion people, has become one of the world's most important electronics manufacturing hubs. From smartphones and computers to data centers and diverse AI applications, the country's demand for chips has been enormous. According to data, in 2022, China imported around 800,000 AI chips worth about $5.3 billion, with GPUs accounting for more than 80% of that. 2 years later, the value of AI chip imports surged to $35 billion, with volume surpassing 1 million units, marking a fourfold increase. Today, China's demand for AI chips ranks second only to that of the United States. However, it's important to note that in earlier years, China's supply of high-end chips relied almost entirely on imports. By 2024, purchases of high-end AI chips in the Chinese market were concentrated among 3 US companies: Nvidia, AMD, and Intel. Leveraging their technological advantages and mature ecosystems, these 3 companies together controlled more than 95% of China's high-end AI chip market. Among them, Nvidia was the top choice for most Chinese companies, holding nearly 80% of the market share. In China, Nvidia's H20 chip became the star product. It was a specially customized version designed to bypass US export restrictions. Although its performance was only about 15% of the flagship H100, it was still the most powerful AI chip that Chinese companies could obtain through legal channels. The H20 alone generated around $12 billion in revenue for Nvidia in China. Yet, No one expected that just a few months later, Nvidia's AI chips would be completely shut out of the Chinese market, its market share plummeting from nearly 95% to 0%. So, what exactly happened behind this dramatic fall? In the field of technology, the United States has always regarded chips as the core of future technological competition and has been quite confident in its dominant position in the global semiconductor industry. Since the start of the US-China trade war in 2018, the US has begun restricting technology exports to China under the justification of national security. It started with semiconductors and later expanded to include artificial intelligence. During this period, Chinese tech companies such as Huawei and Sugan were successively placed on the Entity List, restricting their access to US technologies. In October 2022, the United States introduced what was considered a milestone export regulation, further tightening restrictions. This new rule clearly prohibited Nvidia, AMD, and Intel from selling their most advanced chips to China, including high-end AI chips such as the A100 and H100. Moreover, it stipulated that any chip produced using US technology, regardless of where it was manufactured, would require an export license if its final destination was China. This rule effectively pulled many third-party suppliers into the export control system. Shortly after, US allies the Netherlands and Japan followed suit, each imposing their own restrictions in 2023 on the export of advanced lithography machines and chip manufacturing equipment to China, turning the control measures into a multinational alliance effort. However, the blockade did not stop there. On April 15th of this year, citing national and economic security, the US halted the export of a batch of AI chips to China, including Nvidia's H20 and AMD's MI308. This ban dealt a severe blow to Nvidia, as the H20 was originally designed specifically for the Chinese market. Its performance was only about 20% of the flagship H100, giving it little general market value. As a result, once the ban took effect, Nvidia faced about $4.5 billion worth of H20 inventory backlog, and its market value once evaporated by $160 billion. By July, the US temporarily restored partial export licenses for chip sales to China. However, China viewed this move as an attempt by the US to clear its stockpiles, rather than a genuine easing of policy. After all, the H20 was a downgraded version custom-made for the Chinese market, and without access to China, Nvidia found it nearly impossible to find another buyer of comparable scale. Even worse, in July 2025, China urgently summoned Nvidia for a meeting, pointing out that the H20 chip might pose potential security risks such as remote shutdown and location tracking. The company was required to submit related security certification materials within a given deadline, although Nvidia publicly responded shortly afterward, firmly stating that its chips contained no backdoors and could not be remotely accessed or controlled. Just 3 months earlier, a group of US lawmakers had jointly proposed the Chip Security Act, which required all chips exported to China to include mandatory tracking and remote shutdown features. The timing of these two events was so close that it was difficult not to draw connections between them. By October 2025, at an event hosted by Citadel Securities, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang revealed that due to US policy restrictions, Nvidia had been forced to completely withdraw from the Chinese market, with its market share in advanced chips dropping from 95% to 0%. It's hard to imagine that a company which once nearly monopolized China's high-end AI chip market could experience such a dramatic reversal in just a few months. But in my view, in this ongoing tech rivalry between the US and China, Nvidia is merely the first chess piece to be crushed by American policy pressure. Many people may now wonder, without access to US high-end AI chips, how will China respond next? According to past US industry analysis, China's AI chip market could reach a scale of $50 billion in the coming years. But clearly, China will not allow this market to remain under complete US control. Having once experienced being choked by technology restrictions, China cannot afford to rely on imported high-end chips forever. As a result, the country has accelerated its development of advanced domestic AI chips. As early as 2023, Huawei launched a new AI chip, the Ascend 910B. Upon release, it immediately drew widespread attention across the industry, as it was believed to be capable of competing directly with Nvidia's A100 and A800 chips. Then, in September 2024, Huawei introduced an upgraded version, the Ascend 910C, which directly disrupted the US's sanction strategy against China. This chip uses a 7nm process, has a maximum power consumption of 350W, and delivers computing performance twice that of Nvidia's Tesla V100, making it one of the AI chips with the highest single-chip computing density on the market. In the first 10 months of 2025, Huawei sold 400,000 units of the 910B, while the 910C was planned to ship 300,000 units. In other words, Huawei has already achieved the ability to produce the very type of AI chips that the United States currently bans from being exported to China. Apart from Huawei, other Chinese companies have also been actively advancing their own chip development. For example, Cambricon launched the Siuan 590 chip, a high-performance AI processor built using 7nm FinFET technology. In terms of performance, it shows significant improvements over existing flagship products on the market, not only offering larger memory capacity and higher bandwidth, but also featuring notable upgrades in I/O and inter-chip interconnection. Its MLU link interconnect speed reaches 512 GB per second. In single-card performance tests, the Siuan 590 even outperformed Nvidia's A100, with a performance advantage ranging between 150% and 170%, while maintaining a lower cost and better price-performance ratio. However, as Chinese companies continue to make breakthroughs in the chip sector, the US has responded with increasingly tough countermeasures. By 2025, several of China's core AI chip firms, including Cambricon, were added to the US Entity List, meaning they were banned from accessing advanced manufacturing services overseas. At the same time, the US also required global cloud service providers to stop using any Chinese chips to provide computing power support for Chinese AI companies. But no matter what, the US sanctions on China's chip industry will eventually backfire on its own companies, and Nvidia will certainly not be the last one to exit the Chinese market. For instance, Qualcomm originally planned to acquire NXP in 2024 to further expand into the automotive chip market, but the US government vetoed the deal out of concern over technology leakage to China, causing Qualcomm to miss a major growth opportunity. Similarly, after Intel withdrew its investment in Tsinghua Uni Group, it quickly lost its position in China's memory chip market, its share plummeting from 18% to just 3%. Lam Research refused to sell etching equipment to China, but as a result, China's AMEC rises in a short period of time, surpassing Lam in global market share to reach 35%, and even took away nearly 20% of Lam's orders. All these cases point to one clear conclusion. When the US turns technological competition into a political tool, it ends up causing strategic losses, and ultimately, American companies lose access to the world's largest market, China. So what do you think about this? To not miss out on our future projects and news updates, please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We will continue to provide you with more exciting and interesting content.